The notion of artifice is most emphasized in Mannerism. Artists, including high Renaissance painters such as Leonardo and Raphael, chose to conceal that artifice by devices such as perspective and shading. In contrast, Mannerist painters consciously reveal the constructed nature of their art. This is why Mannerist works can seem mannered. The conscious display of artifice is often revealed through imbalanced compositions and unusual complexities, both visual and conceptual. Ambiguous space, departure from expected conventions, and unusual presentation of traditional themes also surface frequently in Mannerist art. This painting, Entombment of Christ in Capponi Chapel, located in Santa Felicita, is created by the Florentine painter Jacopo Carusi, known as Jacopo da Pontormo because of the birthplace, and it exhibits almost all of the stylistic features characteristic of Mannerism's early phase in painting. Christ's descent from the cross and subsequent entombment is a frequent theme in art, and 16th century viewers would have been familiar with this. However, the way Pontormo presented this artwork made it quite unusual. For example, both the cross and Christ's tomb are omitted, and consequently scholars debate whether he meant to represent descent from the cross or entombment. Also, instead of presenting the action as taking place across the perpendicular picture plane, Pontormo rotated the conventional figure groups along the vertical axis. As a result, the Virgin Mary falls back away from the viewer as she releases her dead son's hand. While high Renaissance artists concentrated their masses in the center of the painting, Pontormo left a void. The grouping of hands around us calls attention to this void, symbolic of loss and grief. All figures cast curiously anxious glances in all directions, and this creates an ambiguity. Many of the figures are bending and twisting athletically, almost distorted. For example, the torso of the foreground figure bends in an anatomically impossible way. Also, the limbs are elastically elongated, and heads are depicted as uniformly small and oval. The contrasting colors, primarily light blues and pinks, add to the dynamism and complexity of the work. Interesting enough, Pontormo may have included himself in this painting. The bearded young man at the upper right corner who gazes at the viewer is probably his self-portrait. The second work I'm discussing is Palazzo Farnese in Rome, constructed during the High Renaissance. The project, a lavish private palace, began in 1517, redesigned in 1534 and 1541, modified under Michelangelo from 1546, and completed in 1589. Pope Paul III commissioned this when he was still Cardinal Alessandro Farnese. Antonio da San Gallo the Younger was selected to design the Palazzo Farnese. At Antonio's death in 1546, Michelangelo took over at the Pope's request. The facade features a rusticated central doorway and alternating triangular and segmental pediments. The broad, majestic front of the Palazzo Farnese asserts the public the exalted station of a great family. After becoming the Pope, Paul chose to enlarge greatly the original, rather modest palace's present form, reflecting his ambitions both for his family and for the papacy. Facing a spacious paved square, the facade is the very sense of princely dignity in architecture. The quoins, the rusticated building corners, and cornice firmly anchor the rectangle of the smooth front, and lines of windows mark a majestic march across the front. The central row of windows has alternating triangular and segmental or curved pediments in Romantic fashion, and the window frames project from their surface. So instead of being a flat, thin plane, the facade is a spatially active, three-dimensional mass. The rusticated doorway and second-story balcony, surmounted by the Farnese coat of arms, emphasize the central axis and bring the design's horizontal and vertical forces into harmony. This centralizing feature is the external opening of a central corridor axis running through the entire building and continuing in the garden beyond. Around this axis, San Gallo arranged the rooms with strict regularity. The interior courtyard displays stately column-framed arches on the first two levels, as in the Colosseum. On the third level, based in part on the Colosseum's fourth-story Corinthian pilasters, Michelangelo incorporated his sophisticated variation, replacing the weighty columns of Sangallo's design with overlapping pilasters. The Palazzo Farnese set the standard for Italian Renaissance palaces and fully expresses the classical order, regularity, simplicity, and dignity of the High Renaissance.